Okay, so joining me on ABN Cast at the IATA 80th AGM is VK Mathews. VK is the chairman and founder of technology company IBS Software. We are in their lounge at the IATA AGM in Dubai. They've got this quite a large space, and they're also going to be showing off a few startups opposite us here during the next couple of days. So welcome, VK, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Lee.
Busy few days coming up.
Yes, it is. You look forward to.
What do you think is going to be some of the main themes that come out of this week? I think we'll talk about technology and software a lot, I think, in this podcast. But just start off by giving us some idea of how you think the industry is faring at the minute. I mean, there's a lot of talk about bounce back from COVID, and it feels like we're back certainly back into growth.
Yes. So, as you know, aviation industry was the hardest hit during COVID, but we are now almost 100% back to pre-COVID levels. In fact, the industries this year is going to be about 2023. From a revenue point of view, we are ahead, even though the RPKs and the carriage was less. That means we have better yields.
Yep.
This year, in 2024, will be a record year, expecting for the industry again.
That's on yields, if not on volume.
Both volumes also will be better than pre-COVID. The number of passengers, the PBs carried will be higher, the capacity will be higher, and the revenue also will be higher.
Yeah.
So 2024, 2023 we broke even. And 2024, our expectation is to touch almost $1 trillion in revenue.
Okay. Are you surprised how quickly that's happened since the COVID crisis, or are we sort of on track?
No, it was pretty much as we expected, because it was 4 years.
Yeah.
So 2020 it went down. 2021 it came up 43%, then 37%. Now, 2024, 23, we are back to almost 99%.
Yeah.
And 2020, but the industry made about 25 billion profit last year. This year, the revenue is going to go up by 15% in 2024. However, our expected profitability is still the same, meaning the cost is also going up.
Yeah.
So, but the industry is very bullish, and one thing that has actually changed, which is very interesting. There was a doubt in the minds of the common man, as well as the industry people, what is going to happen to the travel industry post-COVID. So the confidence has been completely restored, and we are now, we sit with a view that whatever happens, travel is going to be there, and it's going to be, as we always thought, part of humanity and life.
That does clearly seem to be the case.
And the forecast, I'll tell you, the forecast by WTTC, which is the larger travel body, not just the aviation. Their forecast is by 2030, the travel industry will be about 16 trillion, $15.5 trillion, or about 11.7% then of the global GDP, which is much better than what it is today.
Yeah.
In other words, the expectation is the next decade for the travel industry is supposed to be the best so far as a decade.
Yeah. No, that certainly seems to be the case. The one thing the industry seems to be struggling with is coping with that demand. It's almost the demand is there, it's fulfilling it. And there are so many areas in which it is struggling. You've had supply chain issues, you've got engineering capacity issues, aircraft delivery issues, parts availability. The airports themselves really struggle to get back up to speed after COVID. Do you think those problems are being solved today, or have we still got issues?
It's partly solved, but of course the supply chain issues are still there, as we know. The aircraft availability, engine issues, all of that is there. But the people side also, to bring the capacity back, you need to get the people. You need people at the airport. We need people to actually serve the customers on board. And some of those jobs are no longer seeming to be appealing.
Right.
The reason is that through COVID, people have gotten to know that you can work from anywhere. You don't have to be in a uniform at odd hours in shifts at the airport and the airline. So this is becoming one of the issues, and in fact, the industry is looking at technology to actually come in and help the industry to bring the capacity back.
Yeah.
So there is one opportunity.
But in all fairness, no matter how much technology is brought in, if you're an aircraft engineer, if you're a cabin crew, you're not working from home.
Yeah, you can't, unfortunately, work from home. So that is so how does it manifest?
Yeah.
It manifests in increased cost. So the demand for those jobs, previously people were available, now people are not available, so you have to pay more.
They're demanding more wage, and
naturally demand supply.
The employers have to react to that.
Exactly, exactly. So if I give you another perspective as what will get discussed and what is being discussed and what the priorities of airlines post-COVID through this recovery, I can say there are three distinct areas which the CEOs will talk about, or the CXOs will talk about.
Yeah.
One, what I term it as brilliant basics. That means all of the key process areas of the airline industry, whether it's flight operations, crew operations, airport operations, you should use best-in-class technology. There used to be a resistance because a lot of technology used to be homegrown and working on, that's okay. But now they realize that I have to have most efficiencies and I have to improve my operations excellence. Number two is travel commerce. One of the things that's really happening is there are three distinct trends which is reshaping the industry or transforming the industry. One is personalization. The other one is direct to consumer or disintermediation.
Yeah.
Third, being able to provide anything and everything which the customer wants, or virtualization or aggregation. This is basically shaping the industry in the sense, now that's what we consider as travel commerce. For all the struggles which the industry has with a seat alone to sell, and which is getting increasingly commoditized, and the margins get impacted, how can I sell much more to the customer? How can I tell my consumer, think of travel, think of me, or think of travel, think of Emirates?
So this is way beyond just the seat, or even anything directly related to the seat.
Exactly.
So it becomes you can become an e-commerce, a digital.
An airline becoming a travel company.
Yeah.
Basically a travel company, and being able to provide what the consumer wants than what the seat alone.
Yeah.
Now technology is making it absolutely possible because you can have a digital pipe to any travel supplier. You can aggregate the travel produce. You can package, personalize, price, and deliver.
Yeah.
As long as you know the customer. For you to personalize your offering, you should know the customer. So technology is helping the industry to know your customer better and be very timely in making the right kind of offer.
The industry is very risk averse, and it has to be, particularly on the operational side of things.
Yeah.
So it's not known for moving quickly or taking risks or bringing in new systems quickly. Now you can understand that when it comes to operations. Is the problem that same attitude also is associated with this move in the retail and e-commerce world? So they have the same attitude that's holding the industry back.
Now, what has really happened? Here again, COVID has brought in a lot more conviction in the minds of the executives that technology, we have to become a technology company.
Yeah.
They are not becoming IT companies. What I'm saying is take full advantage of technology. And that realization is there right from the board to the execs. So they are willing to bring in more technology. Now, where to apply it and where should it do? If you have heard about the initiative of one order.
Yep.
That is order.
Which is IATA things.
The IATA things. Yep. Offer management, order management, settle and deliver.
Yeah.
This has actually brought in a structure to this concept of going directly to the consumer with whatever he needs. So you are able to you have a catalog of what you offer. That catalog contains a lot of things that you don't, but you pick up from your affiliates.
Yeah.
And then you package and deliver it. So it is bringing some sort of a method to this approach. And what happens is, in this process, it is not just the consumer and your suppliers. The entire enterprise processes and a lot of things get nullified. In the sense, you don't need a lot of things which otherwise in the headquarters a lot of people are sitting and doing.
Yeah.
Most
Which
of it
can be a barrier to change, can't it?
It can be.
Because people
It
don't want
can
to
be-
lose their jobs. And
But the good news is that leading airlines are now really, really embracing this transformation.
yeah,
And they are leading the change, such as Lufthansa is actually leading a consortium of airlines who are basically talking about adopting the OSD, the order, offer, settle and deliver kind of a model of business.
Yeah.
This is a new, that I would say the commercial business operation of aviation industry is transforming. And that is an absolutely necessary thing
yeah,
for you to be, at the end of the day, two strategic imperatives that will get discussed here. One, how do I respond to market conditions on which I have no control? How do I respond to ever-changing and fast-changing customer requirements? And one of that is personalization. You have a digital pipe, you are connected, you are engaged, you are serving and servicing
Yeah.
the customer digitally. The second piece is personalization. How do you give a differentiated customer experience? All of this is what is really coming as their priority. So I repeat, brilliant basics, travel commerce, and the third piece is supercharged customer relationship.
okay. This is, when you hear OTAs talk, this is what they all talk about all the time.
Yeah.
And obviously that's all they've got because they don't own the product and it's not direct, so they have to give something to the customer. So they start with the customer and work backwards. Which essentially, I think what you're saying is that let's look, what does the customer want?
Yeah.
And let's see how we can provide that. Because at the end of the day, the customer doesn't really care what your systems allow you to do or not. They just want a kind of experience they get elsewhere from an airline, don't they?
Exactly. And in this process, and economically and directionally, the right thing is that you disintermediate if the intermediary is not value adding.
Yeah.
If you really want to bring economies and if you really want to give value, you cannot have a lot of intermediaries because these intermediaries existed for a valid reason once upon a time. But if they are non-value adding, you go.
So this isn't about saying there'll be no intermediaries. Intermediaries have a part to play, clearly.
Exactly.
But
And the path in our life is very clear in the airline business. Can you improve my yield? Can you improve my asset utilization? That means, can you improve my load factor? Can you improve my price?
yeah.
These are the two things which we offer. And that's how we maximize the revenue.
Yeah.
So, we are fortunately, because during COVID, we did not let go any of our staff. We were able to accelerate our R&D because the demand was not there. And so therefore, we are in a very good position to support the industry, and to some extent, we are at the core of it driving the change, this particular travel commerce change.
Why there's a number of tech companies out there working in this area. IBS is one of many, a leading one, but still one of many. Why does the industry require a third party to do this? Why can't the airlines get on and do it themselves? Is it because it takes that sort of level of collaboration?
I'll tell you the reason. Of course, this is done for the industry, but the airline industry doing it is not going to be the right thing, because it was once upon a time, 30, 40 years back, when the technology industry was small and non-existent. Companies like British Airways and Swiss Air and American and Lufthansa, they all had their own IT division, thousands of people working.
Yeah.
Now today, the technology industry and digital economy is twice the size of the travel industry. And it is much bigger and going much faster. And the airlines have come to realize that I would like to make the best of it. This is not my business.
Yeah.
So I don't think they can afford, or they will be able to. Having said that, they will be the consumers and the users of it, and they will have a lot of say in how do you bring the solution.
Yeah. It's a sort of stick to your knitting kind of thing.
Right.
Do what you do best, which is if you're an airline, it's putting aircraft in the air and getting people from A to B, and let someone else deal with the payments or the technology platforms, etc.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And in some ways, that is also the transformation of the technology competence within the enterprises, within the consumer enterprises were changing.
Yeah.
Once upon a time, they were doing it. Then they have to do only what is value adding. Then eventually, now they all have the capability to source the best. So the capability of my digital transformation team, if I'm running the airline, is do they have the capability to bring the best for me and to be able to configure it for me to stay differentiated.
Yeah.
So that shift is also taking place.
If you talk about technology, you have to talk about AI these days. It seems to be the big buzzword, and the question is, what is AI going to do to the airline industry? We're finding out because it is being implemented in various ways. What's your view of how the industry should embrace AI?
Industry certainly should, not only airline industry, all sectors should. But let me put it this way: to what extent we have used it, we are still very much at the very formative stages.
Right.
The initial pilots are all very exciting, so therefore the excitement is also palpable, but we still have a long way to go. There are a number of use cases. For example, personalization itself, which is basically shifting the focus from supply to demand, what the customer wants, and for which, how do you know the customer? To know the customer, AI is a very, very good, but looking at your behavior patterns, and so that we are able to predict. And the other one is, how do you improve your cost of operation? And we can capacity utilization, capacity forecast, route management, all of these things, we should be able to do it better. Disruption handling, recovery from disruption, we should be able to, because we have the history of what we did. All of the data is telling us that there are better ways of doing it.
Yeah.
So AI has a lot of role to play, and companies like us are helping and leading by creating centers of excellence and coming up with, the problem is not about solving. The problem is to identify the right use cases, business use cases. So I think it is very clear. You talk to any airline CEO, they will definitely say that this is my priority area. But that is true, and there's so much more to be done. And of course, the difficulties that we can have with the misinformation and disinformation associated with the AI is a reality. Business leaders, social leaders, political leaders, we all have a lot of role to play in bringing some sort of a sanity around it, and so that we can rely on it more than what we think we can. And
what you said there about AI and disruption and efficiency, it takes us actually full circle to what we started talking about with people, because if you've got fewer people having to do more with fewer in terms of your human resources, the key thing then is to give them either the data, the insights, or the technology, so that their jobs are more. If they are more efficient, they give better customer service, especially if you're customer facing. And the last thing you want is an angry customer shouting at you when you haven't got the answers for them, and you having to sort of somehow placate them. We see that all the time in the aviation sector.
Right.
So if you have, and I often think that there's a lot of focus on customer experience, and not enough on employee experience, or EX. But an EX comes from giving that employee the tools, and the tools often will be technology based. Do you think really the industry should look at that first and foremost? So you give the employee the tools to deal with the customer, and the customer experience essentially will take care of itself.
You're absolutely right. I was just looking at the labor demand dynamics. If you really look at the next up until 2020 to 2030, the demand for the STEM jobs are going to go up. And the demand for certain kinds of, like for example, customer interaction, the demand for sales support, demand for office support, all of this is going to go out, because you will see more and more Gen AI supported boards doing this, customer interactions, sales and marketing, creative content, all of those.
Yeah.
But again, the jobs which are going up, the STEM jobs, the demand for it, these are the jobs which will require maximum skilled requirement change. What it means is that I don't think corporations, I don't think countries and even universities have really thought about how we will equip our employees to actually fulfill the demand that will come on them. Mm-hmm. And all of this is actually driving a whole lot of people not being able to provide what is expected of them.
Yeah.
And this is a predicament. So, and I am answering it differently. And is there a focus? My answer is no. I was discussing with one of my colleagues today, how is it that we will use Gen AI to improve our code build, basically in software engineering?
Yeah.
And how do we convert or help our software engineers to become prompting engineers so that you can specify the requirement so that the code generated is 50% good.
Yeah.
Or progressively you can improve. Yeah. So the demand on our people will continuously increase because the consumer behavior and customer expectations are changing very rapidly.
And you bring a perspective from India, from the your home essentially.
Yes.
Different countries, different cultures are approaching this in different ways. Are we seeing a shift in where this the innovation is coming from? Are we seeing a shift east? Generally, we're sitting here in Dubai. This region has become an aviation powerhouse over the last 20 years or so. But I know India's got huge ambitions in aviation, and of course you've got China and the Far East.
Two sides to it. One is the sheer technology capability and how do you build models, feed data. The second one is to understand the culture of Asia, a country, a group of people. We are coming back to the customer experience. Now, building a technology model is one thing, and from that, using that model and using all of the data available to create something which is good for a community is yet another.
Right.
Now, India is great in terms of the technology capability and the number of resources that you can actually go into. But India will not be able to actually, these are models to be used by others for them to create really meaningful solutions.
Yeah.
Because that has a lot to do with the culture as well.
This industry is global and it needs to be a global solution.
But again, coming back to one thing that you talked about, this region has become an aviation powerhouse. It's true, and the reason is, one of the main reasons is the centrality of this place to geographies which are fast growing and which did not have the kind of infrastructure needed, transportation infrastructure. And Africa as well as India, big population and growing population.
And that's just only going to be turbocharged now that Saudi Arabia is joining the party, isn't it? I mean,
that's right. I mean, somebody asked me this question. So if you look at 30 years back, nobody would have said that Middle East would be a major global hub. Nobody would have thought like that.
Yeah.
And they had the courage to dream and then invest and create. And
I guess that's what does drive innovation. You need people prepared to take that leap.
Absolutely.
Make the mistakes that others are scared of doing, but actually that's what makes progress happen.
That's true, and perhaps that's true, but COVID has actually given a little bit of a nudge for people to take that.
A bit of a wake-up call.
Yeah, it was a bit of a wake-up call as well.
Our time's nearly up, but I'd just like to throw cargo into the mix. We haven't talked about cargo. I know IBS is very much in the cargo sector, and obviously, as we know, cargo came to the fore during COVID because it kept a lot of airlines going. And then it was said that the cargo people suddenly found themselves at the top table in the directors' lounge. What's happened since? Has that been retained? And what needs to happen in cargo to make sure that continues?
So cargo is still, fortunately, in 2020, last year we were 40% above pre-COVID level, so $140 plus billion.
Yeah.
And this year too we will be above. However, the yield was declining because of the belly capacity coming on board. But air cargo industry will grow. I'll tell you few reasons why it will grow. One, if you look at the capacity utilization today of air cargo, air freight industry is less than 45%.
Right.
Every day, 55% of the capacity is going waste. Some of the airlines are using.
It's flying, but it's empty.
Yeah, it's empty because more so because of the belly of the passenger.
Yeah.
Number two, even today, even last year, the volume of cargo, the share of air cargo in global trade by volume is less than 1%. Even though by value it's much higher.
Yeah.
The value is 35%. Number three, one sector which is growing so fast and so profitable, the cross-border e-commerce, which is 2 trillion and growing leap and bound.
Yeah.
The share of air cargo is nominal, hardly anything, less than 5%.
Okay.
Number four, in its movement from the shipper to the consignee, cargo is moving only 19% of the time, 81% of the time it's waiting to be moved. So if you really look at the headroom for it to grow, and again, compared to e-commerce, in air cargo, your yield is 1%. That means 1% of the value of goods that you transport is what you get. 7,000 billion and your revenue is 100 billion.
Yeah.
This is what the equation. Now, if you really take this into account, you will clearly see that there is huge opportunity. One is going into cross-border e-commerce. Another one is trying to get much better capacity utilization.
Yeah.
And the third piece, what's happening in passenger, go directly to your consumer, go directly to shipper. Here, the air cargo today is from airport to airport.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah. And there's a digital aspect to that.
Yes, there's a huge digital aspect.
Digitization of the industry.
So one is integrated supply chain. Yep. So integrated supply chain, which will take you directly to the consumer. Productizing your services, that means different attributes, different value to the customer so that you will get better yield. And I think a lot of opportunity, but a lot more technology intensity needed in cargo as well.
Okay. Look, our time is up, VK. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Lee.
Really fascinating to speak to you at the IASA AGM. Hope you have a good few days here, and I'm sure we'll speak again in the future. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us on ABN Cast. Thank you. We're delighted that our friends at Amadeus have agreed to be the launch sponsor for ABN Cast. And while they do not endorse the opinions and views expressed, they are keen to support a new forum for open discussion and debate around the future of aviation. Amadeus's technology powers the global travel and tourism industry, inspiring more open ways of working, more connected ways of thinking, always with an eye on how the industry can evolve, on how the travel industry can better serve travellers, bring people together, explore new experiences, and do business. Travel should be meaningful and personal, and it must be centred around the traveller, which is why Amadeus is investing to create their technology to put more power into people's hands. As an industry, we only progress by working together, and Amadeus's open platform is connecting the entire global travel and hospitality ecosystem. Our environment, our communities, and our destinations matter. Together with our customers and industry partners, Amadeus is working to make travel a force for social and environmental good, and ABN Cast will be placing a specific focus on these themes in future editions. To find out more, visit www.amadeus.com and make sure you subscribe to ABN Cast, which you can do on Aviation Business News' YouTube channel or on Spotify, so you don't miss out on any future edition. And please tell your friends and colleagues all about us. Thanks very much.